property. It's not really a satellite radio type of car. Let's go to week 14 with the wide receivers. I'll let you go first. Who is your number one pick at wide receiver?
No, let me hear yours. You go. Come on, I like that.
Okay, I'll do it. I really like, and this sounds so just ordinary and generic, and I apologize everybody because everybody's saying the same thing here. Odell Beckham Jr. at Miami. He's had 100 yards and scored in 3 straight games. Very good pick, as well as just consistent pick at this point. You really can't go wrong. I can't imagine, even on the worst of scenarios, that Odell Beckham Jr. has less than 70 yards and a touchdown.
Okay. My pick for this week, I'm going back. I'm turning into a homer for the Jags, but I got to go with Allen Robinson. I think he follows up a huge performance last week and torches the Colts defense. Again, you got to contend with Hearns. That means they're not going to double Robinson, and he's going to take advantage of it.
You're right. Allen Robinson had a career day in week 13. He was what?
He's had
10?
A bunch of games like that.
He was 10
not that huge, but.
Well, yeah, 10 for 153 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he's going to get Vontae Davis against the Colts in week 14. You know, last time he matched
Colts
him,
that just torched him for 3 different receivers getting a touchdown on him and just abusing them.
You're right.
Come on.
You're right, but the last time he met Vontae Davis was in week 4, where he only had 4 catches for 80 yards. You got to think it out. I don't
4
see
catches for 80 yards. Even on a bad day, that's a pretty respectable stat line.
It isn't terrible, but without the touchdowns, it definitely hurts you, at least in daily fantasy. The number 2 pick that I believe everybody needs to put their money on right now across the board is Antonio Brown. When Ben Roethlisberger's at the helm, Brown is a shoo-in top 3 play. Ben is healthy as the Browns prospects heading into a divisional clash with the Bengals. Brown has scored in 3 of his last 4 meetings with Cincy. He scored 3 touchdowns against the Colts last week. So why the heck not? Antonio Brown is the man.
I'd trust Fitzgerald over Brown in this game. Cincinnati has a legitimate defense, a great secondary, legitimate front 4. I think they're going to get after Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to look, Antonio Brown always has decent games. But again, maybe he gets through. I don't think he tops 100 yards in this game. I'd rather have Fitzgerald.
Tell me about Fitzgerald.
Same thing we just said about going against the Vikings, who just got smoked. The Vikings are on a downhill path. And here's the real thing. Again, same thing. Defense wins championships. This Cardinals defense is all over the Vikings. Who are they going to throw the ball to? I don't think any of their receivers can get open. And so then you're left with a really good front 4 and linebacking core of Cardinals who are going to stop Adrian Peterson. That means they're going to get some turnovers because he's going to try and throw the ball. He's going to make a bad decision. They're going to get the ball. And typically this is a different team. They're not running the ball when they're on the 8-yard line. They're going to Fitzgerald. He's a beast. Always within the red zone. He's the one that they typically will go to, and I think he gets, at least a couple touchdowns in this game easily.
Okay. You know what? More power to you. I stand behind the Larry Fitzgerald thing. I like the guy. And not only that, I think that Minnesota's defense showed some vulnerabilities, especially against Seattle last week, that I think Arizona is ready to capitalize on following that performance. However, we could also see the opposite, where a mad Minnesota team is playing harder than they ever played before. So I see a little bit of risk in that, but I generally like your pick. What about for tight ends in week 14? Hit us.
Go.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like Greg Olsen versus Atlanta. Rob Gronkowski's will likely be out again. Olsen stays atop the charts, and he's basically Cam Newton's major number 1 target. And Atlanta just hasn't been playing extremely well.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Really, I like 2 here. I like Delanie Walker against the Jets. I think that's a good matchup. I think he's going to have to get rid of the ball quick. They don't have a great secondary. I think he gets the ball quite a bit, and he's pretty good after the catch. The other one I really like in this game is Jordan Reed against the Bears.
before you get to Jordan Reed, I would have thought for a second that being a homer that you were, Travis Kelce versus San Diego is a great matchup.
It definitely is. I wanted to mix it up. Look, if you have Kelce on your team, you're playing him every week. He's a top 5 tight end every single week. And is he always going to deliver? No, he might get you a touchdown, but he's always going to get 40, 50 yards. That's just a given. Some games he's going to do better. The problem is they go to Macklin a lot. As Macklin has started coming out, that's great. And then last weekend, he does fumble every now and then. I'm not saying he's a bad pick, but he needs another year or two to become a tight end who is going to be he'll be the number 1 tight end in football within the next year or two, easily.
Okay. Well, guys, don't also forget that Tyler Eifert is a great pick this week, provided he is available for, the injury concern that is currently Tyler Eifert. But the Steelers have been known to be a tight end friendly defense. They really have. They've been giving up to tight ends religiously, and before even Jimmy Graham got hurt, he was on pace to have 130 yards in that last game in Seattle. So Eifert, great pick. They've been giving up a lot of points to the tight end, and there's not a better receiving tight end, at least in my opinion, currently active in the NFL, aside from Ron Gronkowski, who's not available because of injury.
Let me give you one more here that's probably an intriguing play. Eric Ebron, I think, could have a really good game against the Rams too. I think that's a decent play if you need a tight end.
That's a sleeper. It's a sleeper, but it's definitely worth its merit. I could see what you're saying because the too many injuries on that team. They're not going to have the same chemistry on defense, and covering a tight end is very, very chemistry dependent. At least that's the way I see it. Let's go to team defenses. The defenses that we're going to have on our team for Week 14. Number 1's got to be Seattle. Got to be. Versus Baltimore, who do they have passing? Who do they have running? Who do they have receiving?
I mean, I'm going to go with a homer. Good call. I'm going to homer on that one too. The Chiefs. If you're not playing the Chiefs defense, leading the league in interceptions, I don't know what you're doing, especially against Phillip Rivers, who the only person he can throw it to is Danny Woodhead. I just don't see this game turning out very well for him.
The only thing that holds me back on the Kansas City Chiefs is Phillip Rivers, who, despite all the injuries that have gone on and all the things that have gone on with that team, he still has put up reasonably good numbers, yardage-wise, for his team. Then you can't discount the Denver Broncos.
I think he completes a lot of passes this week to Marcus Peters.
He throws 2 touchdown passes to Marcus Peters. No, it's true. It's the whole Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs. The 2 AFC West defenses are absolutely, utterly formidable, and they both have great matchups. As Denver is going to play Oakland, and Kansas City is playing
Oakland beats
San
Denver
Diego
this weekend. I think this is the time that we see Oakland steps up, regardless of their record. I think they're coming off a bad beat. They're frustrated and they're mad, and they need someone to take it out on. I think they get to Osweiler, and we see a team that steps it up, and Osweiler has some problems this weekend.
Okay. All right. So that leads us to finally talking about Thursday Night Football. What do you think about this matchup this week, Matt, and Thursday Night Football?
I think that, we've talked about this all game. I think that the Arizona Cardinals go in there and they put it on Minnesota. It becomes very apparent that Minnesota's still a year or two away from really coming into their own. A quarterback's still young. He just has a little. He has. He needs a little bit more time to learn what's going on in the NFL. And I think here the biggest thing about this game is this. All the things that you said are valid. Maybe they come in mad. Maybe they play him really hard. I think Bruce Arians outcoaches that other team. That's it. It doesn't matter. That's the tough thing. Arians is a really good coach, and they've gone into some tough games. They went into Seattle and put a beating on Seattle, and that's a decent Seattle team we're now seeing. They're playing really well, and they played well in that game. They didn't play terrible, but this Arians is going to go in there, and he's going to take advantage of any weakness that team has. He's going to confuse and frustrate. They have an excellent defense. They're going to confuse Bridgewater with a lot of different looks. They're going to disguise coverage. They're going to do a bunch of stuff I don't think he's seen yet, and it's going to and I think it's going to result in probably a touchdown or two for that defense and make it easy on the offense. But this is also a team that even when they're winning, they're not going to take their foot off the gas. I think they put 40 points on the Minnesota Vikings.
The only thing I worry about with the Arizona Cardinals, just pure and simple across the board, is the fact that Chris Johnson's no longer there. And Chris Johnson was probably their best pass blocker, as well as their best runner, as well as their best outlet as far as finding a receiver out of the backfield in a case where a play is broken down. Without having that, I worry that Carson Palmer will not be able to adapt to the Andre Ellington effect. I know he's worked with Andre Ellington before, but they're very night and day as far as how they are as running backs. They were supposed to be comparable, but they really aren't. They are two very different backs with very different talent levels, and I think in the end, I'm going to say the Minnesota Vikings pull off an upset in Arizona, 28-17.
No way, bro. I mean, okay, you've been wrong before, but I don't think there's a good call. I like it, but we got to have some differences on here. We can't both give each other handies all during the show. But I don't think there's a way that happens in hell. The Arizona Cardinals, I think, are too well coached to go in and slip up like that.
No, the Arizona Cardinals are very well coached. I'm not going to deny that, but after coming off of a loss like that, the Minnesota Vikings are either A, going to be completely defeated, or they're going to be completely angry and playing out of their freaking minds.
Here's the thing about them, though. Even playing out of their minds, it's like this team, even when they play up to a certain, you'd think like, oh, Seattle, this is their opportunity to gain an edge in the playoff race. No. Same thing. Green Bay, this is their no. Again, oh, damn it, no. They're just not doing, I can see their fans like, this is the moment. Oh, damn it, no. So that's what's going to happen again. It's like they do the opposite in a big game. It's like you know what it is? It's like on a car when you have that thing that stops it at a certain speed. That's what the Minnesota Vikings have. And at a certain speed, they just stop at a certain point in the game. They can't go any farther. They can't do any better. And I think that just crushes them in this game.
And it very well could. And I'm actually hoping to God, not only I'm in a win-win situation here, right, Matt? Because I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan. And for Seattle Seahawks fans listening right now, listen to me carefully. If the Minnesota Vikings win, then that puts them in deeper and higher contention for pulling off the higher seed in the wild card, making us play the more difficult of the two teams in the wild card situation. However, if they lose, we have a chance of leapfrogging Minnesota and becoming the higher seed. Now, I'm not a Cardinal fan here. I'm going to root for I'm just really waiting to see how this game ends, because at the end of the day, if by chance Minnesota does win and we get two more losses out of Arizona, we have the chance to play Arizona in Arizona on week 17 to possibly win that division for the Seattle Seahawks. I know it's a long shot. I know the odds are stacked against us immensely. But either way, whoever wins this game, I'm going to be a happy camper. It's kind of like splitting my, splitting my happiness. No matter what happens, I win. And I'm okay with that.
Oh, this is so sad to see this happen. I know we've gone over, but this is like a wonderful Christmas story gone wrong. I want a picture of you on Christmas Day with your head shaved, looking forlorn and sad, dripping tears into your coffee as you watch your children open presents of coal. That's what I would like, because that, unfortunately, is the emotional equivalent of what's going to happen to you. You're so excited. Okay. They're going to lose this weekend in Baltimore to a defense that is revamped and excited and pumped up and energized, and you're going to have to shave your head, and I'm going to feel bad for you. So
for those first-time listeners out there, Matt and I have a bet, and the loser of this bet has to shave their head, provided that both teams don't lose in the same
and
week.
videotape it and put a YouTube link up on the website so that everyone can watch their humility.
Yes. So if the Kansas City Chiefs lose first, Matt shaves his head on video. If the Seattle Seahawks lose first, I shave my head on video. And with